In this unit, we are going to be talking about functions and equations and how to write equations of a line, how to graph them, and all sorts of things regarding those types of things. So before we get into this, we need to make sure that we understand a lot of the vocab that we're going to hear as a part of this unit. So this whole graph thing that sometimes you call a graph is sometimes you call a Cartesian plane, sometimes you call a coordinate plane. We're going to stick with the words coordinate plane for this. So what a coordinate plane is, it's a two-dimensional plane formed by the intersection of a vertical line, which is called our y-axis, and a horizontal line called our x-axis. So let me go ahead and label those as well for you. So the vertical line is called your y-axis. Okay, so you see I've labeled that. The top part of that, these are all your positive numbers. So everything above the x is positive, and everything below the x-axis is going to be your negative y values. That horizontal line I'm referring to then, that is your x-axis. So the right side of that are your positive x values, and the left side are your negative x values. So you may notice that your y-axis and your x-axis meet in the center at this point right here. That point is what we call the origin. And the point or the ordered pair that represents your origin is 0, 0, which is why everything to the right of that are your positive x values and everything to the left of that are your negative x values. Just like on a number line, 0 is in the middle. Everything to the right is positive, everything to the left is negative. Same thing with your y-axis. Everything above the origin are your positive y values, and everything below the origin are your negative y values. The other thing we really need to understand with the coordinate plane is how to refer to the different quadrants. So quad means 4, and this coordinate plane is split into 4 little boxes. Okay, so this top right one is quadrant 1. You'll notice that quadrants are typically numbered with Roman numeral numbers. So it kind of looks like a capital I, that just means 1. And then they go counterclockwise around. So quadrant 1 contains your positive x values and your positive y values. Moving to the left, since again we go counterclockwise, is quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 contains negative x values and positive y values. Then we move down, so now we are in quadrant 3, which contains negative x values and negative y values. And then finally over to the right is quadrant 4, which contains positive x values and negative y values. Then if you continue to look at this coordinate plane, you might notice a few additional lines on here other than the axes. So the first one I'd like to point out is this line right here that I'm trying to highlight a little bit. This line is what we would call a diagonal line. There are 2 points on this line I'd like to draw your attention to. The first is right here where your line intersects your y-axis. That is what we call our y-intercept. The y-intercept just talks about the point where your line is crossing your y-axis. The other point I'd like to draw your attention to is where it crosses your x-axis, which is called the x-intercept. You may also notice that there is a vertical line on this graph, which I'm highlighting right now. This vertical line also contains an x-intercept, which again is just the ordered pair that describes where your line is crossing your x-axis. Finally, you may notice a horizontal line on this coordinate plane. This horizontal line contains a y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. The very last thing I would like to point your attention to on this coordinate plane is this point right here. Okay, so we can call that either a point or an ordered pair. And I will explain more about that as we look over on the right here. So this is another example of a point or an ordered pair. And you'll notice that it is in a set of parentheses. with a comma in the middle. So this is how every point or ordered pair is set up. The first value is your x coordinate, and the second value is your y coordinate. If you are struggling to remember which coordinate comes first, just think about the alphabet. X comes before y in your alphabet, so the x coordinate comes before your y coordinate when you write your ordered pair. All right, so a quick recap of some of the vocabulary that I discussed using the diagram above. The coordinate plane is formed by a horizontal number line called the x-axis and a vertical number line called the y-axis. Each point on the coordinate plane has an address called the ordered pair. The point where the axes cross is called the origin. Its coordinates are 0, 0. The x-coordinate gives the location on the x-axis, and the y-coordinate gives the location on the y-axis. A linear equation with two variables has an infinite number of solutions. You may notice that the word linear has the word line right inside of it. That's because everything we're going to graph this unit should be a straight line. The next statement says each solution can be represented by a point on the coordinate plane. These points form a line called the graph of the equation. Now that we have learned some of the vocabulary and terminology, we are going to do some examples that will use some of this vocabulary. So the first thing says circle the ordered pair. Remember, that is just the address for a point. That are solutions. If something is a solution, it makes a true statement. So if we're looking for solutions to the equation 2x plus y equals 10, that means we are looking for an ordered pair or a point that makes this equation true. So for example, if we are looking at this first one, we have the ordered pair 8, 2. Okay, so remember that the first number is your x, and the second number is your y. So to see if this is true or not, you're going to plug this into our equation. So my equation is 2x. So instead of that x, I'm going to substitute an 8 in there plus y. And instead of that y, I'm going to substitute a 2 in there, equals 10. Okay, so this is just like we did way back in Unit 1 with evaluating, where your variables are assigned a specific value and you substitute that in and simplify. So 2 times 8 is 16, plus 2 is 18. So then we bring down the rest, equals 10 equals 10. So you want to ask yourself, is this a true statement? So if we look at that, is 18 equal to 10? No. So this is not a possible solution. So then if we move on to the next one, 4, 2, again, we start with an x. The second value is your y. So we're going to have 2 times 4 plus 2, and we're going to see if that equals 10. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. So we bring down equals 10 equals 10. Well, is that true? Does 10 equal 10? Sure does. So the ordered pair 4, 2 is a possible solution. So go ahead, pause the video, see if the rest of these ordered pairs are solutions to the equation 2x plus y equals 10. When you're ready to come back and check, hit play. All right, hopefully you were able to figure out that of the rest of the ordered pairs, all but 2 are indeed solutions. So again, your first value is your x, your second value is your y. So you just plug them in accordingly, and you will get true statements for all of these ordered pairs that I have boxed. You will get a false statement for the ordered pairs that I have x'd out. Next, I'm going to review with you how to plot points. So we'll do this one at a time. So our first ordered pair here is 1, 2. So again, remember, your first value is your x coordinate, and the second value is your y coordinate. So just a quick recap. Your positive x-axis is to the right of the origin. Your negative x-axis is to the left of the origin. Your positive y-axis is above your origin. and your negative y-axis is below your origin. Okay, so again, there's 4 quadrants. First quadrant is positive, positive. Second quadrant is negative, positive. Third quadrant is negative, negative. And fourth quadrant is positive, negative. So we have a positive x value and a positive y value, which would put us in quadrant 1. So our x is 1. So these just count by ones. Our y is 2. Again, these just count by ones. So it means we're going right 1, up 2. Okay? The second point that we have here is 4, negative 2. So our x value is positive 4, and our y value is negative 2. So that's going to put us in quadrant 4. So because our x is positive 4, we're going to move 4 to the right from our origin, and then we're going down 2 because our y value is negative. So these still count by ones, they're just negative values. Might as well label our x while we're at it. Okay, so our next ordered pair then is 0, negative 3. So that means I'm not going anywhere on my x-axis. So I'm going to stay right at the origin. And then my y value is negative 3, so I'm going to go down 3. So this point actually ends up being right on top of our y-axis. The next ordered pair that we have is negative 1, 3. So our x value is negative 1, our y value is positive 3. So that puts us in quadrant 2. So if we start from our origin, I'm going to move left 1 and up 3. All right, if you want to pause the video and try the other 4, think about what quadrant you would end up in, and then come back and see if you are right. Okay, so our next one is negative 2, negative 1. So our x value is negative 2, our y value is negative 1. So this is going to put us in quadrant 3. So from our origin, we will go left 2, down 1. Next we have 2, 0. So our x is 2, our y is 0. So from the origin, we're going to shift right 2 and up 0. So we're right on top of our x-axis. Next we have the ordered pair 3, negative 3. So our x is positive 3 and our y is negative 3. So from the origin, I will move right 3 and then down 3. So we are in quadrant 4. And then our last ordered pair that we have is 2.5 and 1. So my x value is 2.5, my y value is 1. Both positive, so we are in quadrant 1. Don't be afraid of that decimal, 2.5. Well, 0.5 is just a half. So that means they're going over 2.5 blocks from my origin, and then going up 1. In this setup, all of our points are graphed or plotted for us already. So now we're going to kind of work backwards and write the ordered pair. Okay, so the first one they're asking us for is A, which is this point right here. So we did not move left or right at all from our origin, so that means our x value is 0. And then we went up 3 blocks, so our y is positive 3. The next point we have here that they're asking for is B. So this one is just left 2 from the origin. So I went to the left, so that means my x is negative 2. And then I did not travel up or down at all, so my y value is going to be 0. The next ordered pair is C, which is up here in quadrant 1. So for that, we went 3 units to the right of the origin, so our x is positive 3. And then we traveled 4 units up, so our y is positive 4. Again, if you want to pause and figure out what the ordered pairs would be for the rest, and then come back and see how you did. So go ahead, take a look, see how you did writing the rest of those ordered pairs. And then you may notice there is one still on our coordinate plane that we did not label yet, and that's J. And that's right here in the center. That is our origin. So again, that one is just 0, 0. And the very last thing I want to talk about today is how to write ordered pairs for points that are found on the graph of a line. So again, I talked about the word linear and how the word line is right inside of that. So again, linear. And the word line is right here inside of that, because everything we're dealing with this chapter should be a straight line. So looking at this picture, we do have a straight line, and we're asked to write ordered pairs for points found on the graph. So the easiest way to do that is to find points that are right where the grid marks kind of intersect. So for example, if we look at this point I just highlighted in red, that's right at the corner of those little tiny grid boxes. Those are the easiest types of points to pick out here. So if I'm looking at that red one, that would be the point -4, because it's left 4 from the origin, 3, because then we went up 3. So trying to find another one that's right at the corner of those grid marks, well, there's one right here that I highlighted in blue. That would be the point -2, 2. There's another one right here, right on top of our y-axis. So this is actually what we would call our y-intercept, and that would be the point 0, 1. And another one that kind of shows up is this one here, right on our x-axis. So that would be what we call our x-intercept, and that would be the point 2, 0. There is actually another one that is right at the corner of these grid marks, and that's going to be right here. So if you're looking for another ordered pair, you could even say 4, -1. So those are all the ordered pairs that are right at the corners of those grid mark boxes.